bed. It's fine. So I've been fine ever since. I'm very surprised. I mean, I'm being very careful, but it's
It's
been
so
good.
weird you have to eat on one side, huh?
Yeah, but it's part of the journey,
Yeah. Hi, Barry, on the other
Anyway,
side of your teeth extraction.
hi.
This is WGSN-DB Going Solo Network TV and radio's #1 podcast for singles. And this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine. How are you?
I had my cataract surgery last week, and I have to tell you, you look extra sparkly if I look at you through my radar. And the funny thing I keep telling people, because it just was the coincidence about the next date he had available to do my left eye is going to be on Valentine's Day. And I said, that's going to be the most unique Valentine present I've ever had. Is I'm going to get a new lens in my eyeball.
I love it.
I don't think anybody in their life would ever have thought they want to get a new lens in their eye for Valentine's Day, but I'm okay about it.
It's okay. There's a question. So, do you have different vision now, or what's happening?
Oh, it is so weird. It's like I'm two different. I feel a little schizophrenic because
You squint and you can.
the world is completely different out of my two different eyes. It's
Right.
pretty. And I'd heard, that it's so clear and sparkly out of my new lens. And because you don't have a comparison, they tell you look at a piece of paper. So you look at a paper this and it's kind of got a yellow cast, and this is like bright, chalky white. It's wild. So it'll be great when they match.
Yes.
And there's all these weird restrictions. You don't know how many times you bend over a day because you can't bend over. You have to squat because of the pressure for your eye because there's an incision.
Oh yeah.
I bend over a lot every day and I
You
can't
catch
do
yourself.
it. And I had to think about it all the time.
Yep.
Also, I've been taking a poll. I don't close my eyes in the shower, even when I wash my hair. And you have to close your eyes with this. You can't get water in your eyes for a couple weeks. And I'm like,
Right.
but everybody else goes, I close my eye. I mean, the majority of people close their eyes in the shower. I've decided I'm an anomaly, and I had no idea because I don't shower very often with anybody. So there you go.
Well, I normally keep my eyes open, but of course I don't have to shower very much because I don't have much, hair to clean.
My brother used he had that LASIK thing, and so he used swim
Oh, God.
goggles.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we get into the topic this week?
Oh yeah. Get done talking about your tooth and my eyeballs. It is kind of funny as you get mature. There is a little more medical stuff that you talk about in your
Life does happen, yes.
So Cece's reminding us the topic today is respect lacking in relationships today. And I thought, yeah, this is very intriguing because as you would say too, I'm sure, that respect starts with us. How much do we respect ourselves? What are we willing to put up with? What are we
Yeah.
willing to ask for? What are we willing to demand? What are we willing to do for ourselves that's respectful? And then certainly how you're going to be treated by the other person. But I think the place to start, I don't know, cat hair everywhere, is respecting yourself. Don't you think? Your relationship with yourself. I have to get a tissue.
Okay. So
I'm sorry.
to underscore, you said, I agree with you, and that's the thing. Is one of the gifts or one of the benefits of observing how your lack or amount of respect for other people is a reflection of your own. So if you notice you're being less respectful for other people, that's a clue. You may want to look at them in the mirror and see what the respect level you have for yourself is, because it quite likely might be paralleling what's happening out there. Because the less respect for yourself you have, you tend to be a little bit more, I suggest, callous or disdainful of other people. That's what we're looking for. So
Yeah,
respect does start in here. Yes.
I agree 100%. The other thing that often happens is I certainly said, and we've heard people say, they treat me so badly. And it really did take me a number of years to go, well, am I letting them do it? I mean, can they do this without my permission? I mean, the first time, there's that saying about fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah.
I think that's a very wise adage because if the same person keeps treating you disrespectfully, who's letting them do it?
If you don't turn away, it's like, do you turn the other cheek, or do you turn and say no, or do you walk away? What do you do with it? Absolutely. And that's the thing, because that's also self-respect. When you say, I care about myself and respect myself, to walk away from situations. So it's not about necessarily about being respectful in the way you treat yourself. It's about respecting your boundaries too. To say, you know what, I'm not going to be here anymore. That doesn't work for me, which is true in relationships. The other part I want to add, though, to this, because the way the question is phrased, is respect lacking in relationships today, is have we become more lackadaisical or more casual in our relationships with other people? Do we take them for granted? Do we not pay homage to those relationships we value most? I think it's true that a lot of people have gotten comfortably convenient about them, or conveniently comfortable, whichever way you put it.
Yeah.
So their level of respect they bring to their interactions has maybe become less present to them nowadays than it used to be.
Oh, that's such a good point that I hadn't really gone there yet. So thanks for bringing that up about
Absolutely.
how respectful are you treat not only yourself, which is where I started, and you're now making sure that it comes full circle. How respectful are you being to the other person? So when it comes to dating, one of the worst things, it feels worse to people, is the ghosting thing where you're chatting or you've gone out a couple times and then poof, they're gone. And we've talked about it. We've had past shows. People can go look. And it does feel very disrespectful when it's done to you. And it's also really disrespectful when you do it to somebody else. So how are you treating the people that you're dating? As well as I tell people, start making it a habit to just be respectful, courteous to the people generally in the world.
Right.
It's so amazing. I keep trying to decide if it's more how people are treating each other, in retail establishments, that can be either side, the service person and the person that's there to purchase something, being so curt and short and disrespectful. And if you're having a bad day, then say, I'm really sorry, I'm having a bad day and I'm going to sound really grouchy and I can't be patient at all right now. At least say it.
Right.
But generally, you can muster up for 5 minutes or 30 seconds being courteous. And I think that whichever way you've now done a habit, you're getting more used to doing either way, it's going to show up in your dating. How could it not? Oh yeah, I'll be nice to the person I'm dating. Well, if you've spent all day being grouchy to the service people on the phone or in person, it's kind of hard to rally the nice part for a date.
Oh yeah, and the thing is that the thing is that I'm going to tie a couple of things into this, because we talked before about gentlemanly conduct and that sort of manners thing. That to me is what respect is about too. So it's not just about like being respectful of the other person, but if you're for the men being a gentleman and women being a lady, like for men being gentlemen, so opening the door, being courteous, help mum with the coat, that sort of stuff, is a sign of respect. And as a woman, and this, I know they're talking about traditional values here, and this is like basically first dates more often, but certainly when you're in a relationship, still treating the partner with that level of respect. But as a woman, receiving that from a place of respect too. So it's not just like where she just goes, oh, thanks, for sort of things like casual. It's like welcome that level of appreciation and respect from the man, so that both partners are respecting each other's offering. Because that's a part of it too. It's a reciprocal thing with respect. Both partners can add value, but also can contribute their own level of respect in different ways to each other.
Well, yeah. And just the other day on one of my Facebook pages that I'm on with all my widow folks, this guy posted that he was going into a building and he happened to be walking ahead of this woman. He opened the door and she looked at him and loudly said, "Do you think I'm crippled and I can't open the door for myself?" And I was like,
oh.
I mean, I do hear from my male clients that this happened, but he posted it. And what I said was, wow, isn't it awful when there's women out there that are really having such bad behavior? And I hope you won't stop. And he goes, no, I'll never stop. So that made me feel really good that it hadn't put him off. But it's hard if it happens a few times. And this is a complaint I've heard, as we've both talked about, from men frequently, about a man offering to do something that's, I think, is really great manners, getting not only snubbed or getting a dirty look, but raised voice, yelled at him
Yeah.
that he had only the best intentions. And I'm thinking, wow. So
That's why. Yeah.
very disrespectful on her part.
Exactly. That's why I want to speak to both sides of it, because the thing is, it's not just on the onus on the men. I mean, chivalry, yes, is a masculine trait. So I think that men do, and it's something that's honorable is wonderful. And being received and being honored for that by the woman. I mean, obviously what's the way too, but in this context, that directional offering being received in a way that is appreciative. So one, it's honoring in what's been said or shared or done, but also it could invites a repeat of the same later on. So respect does build on respect, builds on respect. So having that component within the communication, the conversation, and the relationship, it perpetuates itself, and that's a good thing.
It is a good thing, because I teach and I learned and I practice complimenting men, because they do it again and again and again and again. I just love it.
We're easily trainable.
You really are. You really are. In the nicest, I mean, you both, I'm so glad you said it too, because we mean it in the most nicest, very respectful way, that you are so easily trainable. You really are. And a smile and a thank you. Wow. And if you're, in a physical relationship, a kiss or, a cuddle, it's like, wow, I'm going to definitely do that again.
Absolutely.
I mean, I tell men, I said, say, hun, I'll do the dishes. I'll run you a bath and I'll do the dishes. And she's going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to be ready. I'll meet you in bed. I mean, it's not guaranteed, but it goes a long way to offer to do something that can feel like a burden to us, and something you're giving back that feels like a gift to us. A bath as a gift, doing dishes feels like you're taking away a burden. We're going to be more physically available to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Although, one caveat, we're talking about respect here. Respect doesn't have hooks in it where you'll do something to get something, just to be clear.
That's so important to say that. Thank you. Because I don't mean that with the intent. I tell them, this is a bonus. You're doing it because you love her. You're doing it because you don't want her to be exhausted, because she's really grouchy when she's exhausted. So that is kind of a little hook, that she could be in a better mood, period, not necessarily to get sex.
Exactly.
But because you care about each other. You want to make each other's life better. So by thinking, which is a very respectful way to think, what could I do to make their life easier today? What could I do to make their life better, happier, more joyful, more showing them that I care? What's a caring thing? All of that fits under the umbrella of respect, I think.
Absolutely. And the thing, and I know we've talked about this relationship, let's talk about dating for a second. When people go on dates, especially the first few days, I know we had this conversation before about the pre-date was casual versus when you get dressed up for a first date. But all the way through, whether it is a casual coffee date, which I have people who argue me about this one, but I believe it's a good thing to get, especially if you want to vet the person before you go out with them formally, have a coffee date, get to know them a little bit before you decide, yes, I want to go out with them formally. On the first date, the 5th date, the 20th date, getting married, all the way through, having respect as a defining characteristic of the way you act. So again, not to get a result, not to get something back, not to feel gratified for something you get back for doing it, but something that's part of what your makeup is, so to speak, is one, it's highly recommended to hone that skill, not so much practice, but hone that skill to really have honoring in your life, where you are respectful of yourself and other people, whichever gender you are. It does make you more attractive. It also raises the quality of the relationship you have with somebody else anyway. So yes, what's primary relationship, what's friendship. And you can go back to the beginning, you said about, respect for like retail staff. It is something that I've seen on a lot of dating profiles. I see on the dating apps, because I'm single on the dating apps, where women will say like how he treats the wait staff or the retail staff or the bus boys is telling for them. And I absolutely agree with that, because respect isn't isolated to certain people, because that's the challenge. When you're doing that, the person giving the respect to certain people is doing it out of manipulation. They want to get something. When you respect, I would say generally unconditionally, so to speak. So you do respect the wait staff or the bus boy or the person you're dating, or whatever that is. So to recognize that respect is the way that you carry yourself, again, relationship with self first, plays out to all your relationships outside of you.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely
So
think
true.
about how you'll be honoring for yourself.
Wow, such a good thought. And you know, it goes back to the basic thing those we were taught when we were kids, at least you and I, of the age we are. Those two magic words of please and thank you. Include those in your vocabulary all the time.
Yeah.
Nobody ever gets offended by please or thank you. I don't think I've ever offended anybody by saying that. There's some words that people can misunderstand, but I've never had that happen. And also,
True.
you made me think about the guy that I dated right before I met my late husband. He was so nice to me. I mean, he brought me a present every time. He took me lovely places. He
Right.
was so nice. And over time, I kept watching how his treatment of the outside world became less courteous. It
Mm.
never changed with me, not at all, but it was very odd. And it didn't hit me right away because I was quite enamored with him and I liked all this treatment. But all of a sudden I was like, wow, I think this has been going on for a little while. He would like barge in front of people, or he would speak harshly to somebody that hadn't really done anything. I watched this happen over time, and finally he was shocked. I said, I can't go out with you anymore. And I said, I have no complaints about me, none at all. I would not change a thing. But this is something I can't do in my life, and I can't be with somebody who does this.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I think the people in the world are just, they're getting less courteous and they're getting whatever. And I said, I
Mm.
get that, but I can't be with you because the way that you're reacting to it is hard on me.
Yeah.
But it was weird how it's I told you, manners make me hot. I love manners. But because it happened so slowly, it was sort of like the frog in the boiling water.
Yeah.
It took me a while to finally go, wow, I can't do this. And it was I was going to say, it wasn't it was a heart hurting decision. It wasn't hard, but it hurt my heart because I had fallen in love with him and we had talked about marriage and I was like, this is not going to happen. So that
Yeah.
was interesting too, that as we talked about getting to know people, it really took months for him to reach that place. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's the thing, the more you respect yourself and the more you know what's really important to you, because this is a highly sensitive place for me.
Yeah.
It isn't for everybody. It just isn't. If they go, oh, that person was being a jerk and I can see why he acted like that, it would be okay with them. It just wasn't for me. So this is how it's important to, when you're respecting yourself, where is your tolerance level? And so
Right.
that's why we're not for everybody, right? We need to
Yeah.
find our lid for our pot.
So yes, absolutely. A couple of things on that because I think it's important to underscore is definitely that when you respect yourself, you make better choices for yourself.
Mhm.
So to walk away from things that seem okay but not perfect, and then realizing that you would never be totally happy if you stayed there. So you respect yourself enough to walk away is a key part of it. The other part you mentioned, and this is the thing that some people do that, is when somebody treats you with respect but disrespects everybody else, which is the authentic part?
Yeah.
And that's the question. So, and because of that, because it's like you're feeling it, because the thing for me when that goes, my alarm bells go off, it's like saying, I would say the majority of the time he's being disrespectful to other people. So being respectful to you is a short fuse. It's a limited time offer. So
Yeah.
somebody is that dualistic in the way they are with people, like the one way with you and different from everybody else in a negative way. That definitely makes a better choice that you respect yourself enough to say, that doesn't feel right. And you're going to walk away.
Yeah.
Even though you weren't disrespected at all during the time you were together, it feels like the other shoe was going to drop at some point and you recognize before it happened that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really did think about that after the fact more.
Yeah.
How would it ever not happen to me? How would he ever not? Because it wasn't every single person he came in contact with when we were together, but it was escalating. I watched it escalate. And
Yeah.
I thought, later, but I didn't at the time. I just went, no, I can't be with it. But then I thought, oh, it could have happened to me. And that would be really bad because I would not accept that at all. I'd had that some in my first marriage and I was never doing that again. But that's such a good point to bring up, because when you're clear about how you treat yourself, then you're really going to have good radar with how people treat you.
Absolutely.
So thinking about, how do you talk to yourself in your head or out loud, since I talk out loud to myself a lot? What are the words that you say? And there's that fun thing that I use a lot with clients of, would you really talk to your best friend this way? Would you talk to your child? Would you talk to your pet?
Right.
And most people say, absolutely not.
Right.
You're
Absolutely.
talking to your precious self this way. So part of learning how to respect yourself is just paying attention, be conscious of the words that you're using, the tone of voice you're using, the way that you're thinking about yourself. Is it positive or negative? And I had somebody write to me the other day that was somebody I had coached for a while, and now they're happy in this. I coached the two of them. They were in a kind of a hard place, and now they're all happy little campers. But she said, wow, I'm really having trouble being kind to myself. So I said, all right, I'm going to give you some homework. And if it doesn't work, then we're going to have a longer conversation. So I said, I'm not going to tell you to not give yourself a hard time, because you're really darn good at that. But I need you to consciously pay attention that every time you say something negative, you need to say 3 nice things about yourself. Now sit down, write them out, because in the throes of it, you can't think of it. Ask her significant other for nice things about you.
Yeah.
And so 3 days later, she went, I'm feeling better. I said, how about that? I said, and how many times are you catching yourself saying negative things? She goes, not as often. So, because I thought it might be an easy fix for her. Some people, it's really, we really do a lot of coaching around this. You work with women's self-esteem so much. That is the core of your business, that it can take some real soul searching and really challenging, hard, good, deep coaching to change you if you've had horrible parents and horrible relationships. And it was so fun to have somebody who I knew, she was just kind of teetering. She'd sold her condo that she'd had with her late husband. One of her beautiful birds had died. I mean, it had been a lot in a row. And I thought, she just needs to tip the scale. It's just a little out of whack right now. There's not this big avalanche. And so it did work in 3 days. But that's the part that you and I so concentrate on, is you have to start with yourself. You have to be nice to yourself. You have to think you're a worthwhile person, that you're a good person, that you deserve being talked nice to.
Absolutely.
Oh, poor baby. I did lots of oh, poor baby about my couldn't wear any makeup and had to wear all these weird things and all these weird drops and stuff. And I was like, this is hard, Christine. I know. Poor baby.
So I want to spin this different direction for a second, because I'm reflecting back on my own relationships. And that respect piece has another layer of subtlety, perhaps.
What did you say? What was the word?
Subtlety. How to be, the subtlety of being respectful.
Subtlety. Sorry.
Yes, subtlety. I'm using the English version, not the American version.
But I like hearing the English version. People comment on, I like how Barry says his words.
I've lived in all these years, but I'm still got these Englishisms, mannerisms.
I had never heard it. They're Barryisms and Englishisms.
Something like that, yeah.
So please go on with your, however you say, subtlety.
Subtlety, yes, subtlety. There's no B in subtlety. So, in my last relationship, the one before I started doing all this work, I realized that I was totally being disrespectful to her because I was being very passive. So respect is not necessarily an overt thing where you disrespect somebody by being insulting or negative or shouting, whatever those things are. I was basically being very lazy in the relationship and not really participating to the level I could have or should have in that relationship. So I didn't bring myself to the partnership the way that she deserved. And I certainly didn't own my space and honor and respect myself to either fix that, transform that, or to say, you know what, I'm not doing what I need to do here. I need to walk away. So I wasn't honoring myself or respecting myself. So those aspects played out. And I know people in a relationship do sometimes get very comfortable and can get lazy. And that is a level of disrespect as well, because if you're not consciously aware of being respectful to yourself and to your partner, unless you've got yourself trained enough to do it automatically, most of us will fall into habits of laziness, avoidance, just disrespect through absence in a way. I did that pretty badly in that relationship. So I remember vividly how, looking back, I was like, I could have done so much better than I did, but I didn't at the time. So I didn't choose better. I made mistakes.
Wow. I love hearing that because, so often we do think about the more, I don't know what other proactive way of being disrespectful to
Or
somebody.
overt, maybe another way of putting it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But covert, I'm not sure that's even the right word, but certainly passive is definitely the right word, of being disrespectful,
Mhm.
not thinking, how can I help them? Not thinking
Exactly.
about including the word please. That is so important. That's a very important point. And you're always so good with all your transparent stories about, well, yeah, I remember I was telling somebody the story about a guy that I dated, and it was so fun. We went out for a little over a year, and it was really fun, and he was really interesting. The thing that I really realized was I kept saying I kept feeling like his emotions were like smoke. I kept trying to get a hold of him.
Okay.
And I really liked his sister because I always knew what was going on with her. I always knew where I stood with her. I liked her a lot. And with him, I finally said, I'm not even sure what would make you mad. I really want to understand. He goes, well, do you want to make me mad? I go, no, the point is I don't want to make you mad. So I really want
Right.
to understand, what does it make you mad? And I kept being wishy-washy about staying or leaving. And I remember I am so punctual. I mean, I would rather be 10 minutes early than 1 minute late.
Yeah.
And I'd driven down to his house to spend the weekend. And I was listening to some sort of interesting show on the radio. And I sat for 15 minutes in my car to finish the show. But I thought, this is mean. This
Mhm.
is so not me. I am not being true to I mean, really not being very respectful for him. I'm not doing me. I mean, I hate being late. I get hives over. I'm allergic to being late. Look what I'm doing to me and to him. This is not good. And that was how I really noticed was my lack of respect of to me too. It was
Yep.
so like this. I could have lit up. It was nighttime sitting in my car. It was like my whole lit up my car with this thought that this is bad. This is so not the right place for me to be here. We need to see if we can do something about this for both of us because this is not good or this has to end. But it's one of those things where we have to work up to it.
Yeah.
How is it doing now? How is it doing now? And then I finally was like, yeah, I had to end it.
That's the key. And so underscoring both what I said, what you said it too, that thing about respect is sometimes it's the absence of it, maybe putting it away, but rather than the overriding of it or the negation of it. Because respect definitely is something that we can intentionally bring into play and use as a vehicle to express our love and our care and compassion to somebody else.
Yeah.
But by withdrawing all of that and not
Mhm.
delivering any of that to anybody, that's a form of disrespect as well, because we're simply turning off that gift that we could offer to give. So yeah, it's important to recognize those ways we do it as well when we don't actually choose to interact with somebody, which is a form of disrespect too.
It really is. And you hear more often lately, I mean, maybe it's been happening for a long time. I just am hearing it more. We grew apart. We became roommates. We just stopped interacting. We stopped talking to each other. Well, that's very disrespectful
It is.
because if things are not working, you need to talk about it either together or with a third party that's a professional. Because as you said, it's we're even introverts need connection, need interaction with their person or a couple of people. And to withdraw your feelings, your emotion, your attention, it's cruel. It's cruel and mean. So, yeah, staying on top of why are you not feeling engaged? What's going on with you? What's going on with them? What's going on with the two of you? So we can talk more about that when we come back from this break because I
We
think
can.
that's Juicy subject, huh?
Yep. We'll see after the break.
Stay tuned. And we're back talking about, is respect lacking in relationships nowadays?
Nowadays, yes.
Yes. Because as we were talking before the break, not giving yourself proper attention, I think, will often make it really hard to not give good attention to other people. If you're not charging your own batteries, if you're not building up your self-confidence, if you're not figuring out ways to make yourself feel happy and fulfilled and productive and needed and necessary in your own life, in your own relationship with yourself, you can try really hard to give to other people, but I think you're going to get drained really fast, and it's going to be not very rich and full and yummy.
It's true. In fact, I thought it was about a little teaching point for a moment. One of the things about respecting ourselves is that oftentimes what we don't do is honor ourselves by keeping our agreements with ourselves and saying yes to ourselves and choosing for ourselves over other people. Yeah. A lot of times for some of us, maybe people pleasing going on or some anxious attachment style, something else going on, we can just do things that are not necessarily aligned with our values or not aligned with our choices. And so one of the biggest things is having the willingness to say no to things that you don't want to do, honestly, not against anybody else, but for you. The second piece is to, as you were saying about always being on time, not breaking the agreements that way, keep your agreements with yourself by simply stating, what does it do? So if you watch the TV till 1 a.m. before you go to bed and you get up at 6 a.m, you don't get enough sleep, that isn't respectful for yourself. Respect yourself by having your health as a priority in your life. So, go to bed, have enough sleep, go to bed at the time that works for you, and to keep the agreement that you're going to do that regardless, so that you can get the sleep you need. Eating certain things or not eating certain things, those sort of simple things, it sounds so simplistic. And you're going to say, how does eating the right thing help my relationships out in the world? Well, you'd be surprised. Meaning that when you do keep the agreements with yourself, those things that you said, even if it was little things, throw away saying, I'm going to do a workout tomorrow, and you don't. If you don't acknowledge that broken agreement, it becomes a cracked foundation to the bridge. It's like it makes your self-support weaker. And when you don't have much support for yourself, it's harder to respect yourself, and then again, hard to respect other people. Because as I said at the beginning, the relationship with yourself is what really is reflected outside of you by the respect for other people. So doing things that help you build that muscle or that reflex to be self-respecting and self-caring in what you do and take care of yourself makes it easier to be respectful of your own self-being expression in the world, and then by extension respectful of other people in your life as well. So that's a fundamental piece of the teaching. One of those things as well, the agreement was just a little tight teaching, because I've done this teaching before in our show a couple of years ago, I think, is when you are talking about doing things for yourself, make sure you're aware that you're doing it, and then make a note of it so you don't forget it.
Yeah.
That step alone could change everything.
Yeah. And say good job when you do it.
Yes.
That's really important too, because I think we don't, like I was talking about how it's so good to appreciate people, especially men, because you really like it and you want to do it more. To say thank you for keeping your agreement to yourself. Thank you for honoring that you went to bed at a good time, that you ate good food. And some of the things that I found with people is they're like, do I have to do it every day? I said, well, like Gary likes walking every day. That's really his way. But if you say, I'm going to walk every other day, or I'm going to walk 6 days a week, and I'm going to have a day off, then honor, this is what I'm doing, and this is good for me, and I'm keeping my agreement. I'm still doing the thing I said I'm going to do. And part of what I said I'm going to do is I'm taking a day off every week. Because that's what I do with my yoga, because I go early on Saturday morning. Well, not right now because of my eye, but to the ranch on Saturday morning. I don't do yoga on Saturday, but I do it the other 6 days of the week because my morning is mine. So that's my agreement. And I feel terrific that I don't do yoga on Saturday morning, because I go walk for 7 miles with horses and kids. So that feels like a perfect trade-off for me. And so, because sometimes we can use it to beat ourselves up. Well, I didn't do it 6 days, or I didn't do it 7 days. What was your agreement? And maybe the other thing is to think, if it's not working, you try really hard and you can't do 6 days, then let's do 5. Let's try 5. Be willing to adjust your agreement with yourself and with other people. So if somebody says, wow, I'm going to really try hard to be on time, and I had a girlfriend that she was an hour late. So I'd always make plans to meet her at a place where I knew they had a good bartender, and I'd sit and have a chat with him for an hour, because she was always an hour. Didn't care how much I lied about the time. She was always an hour late. But I didn't care, because it was once every couple of months, and I was planned it out, and I knew I was going to have a great conversation, because bartenders are the best people to have a conversation with. It's and who knew who might sit next to me that I could have a nice conversation with. So I came prepared. Our agreement was I wouldn't be mad at her, because why get mad at her? This is who she is. And I always enjoyed our time together, even though she was an hour late. So that's the other thing, is make sure your agreement is accurate, because that's very respectful, is to honor, who are you? Who are they?
And part of that is also making sure the agreement is compatible for both people as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because she drove everybody crazy, because she was always an hour late. And it never bothered me. Once I figured it out, I was like, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay.
And that's the thing with respect. It does interweave other things like trust and agreements, and making people accountable to their actions and such like that too. And it's so subtle in some ways, but so blatant in other ways, that respect is not something you just freely given. Sometimes it's something you got to earn. And so building that consistency of agreement, or building that consistency of reliability, building that consistency of commitment, are things that tend to generate more respect with the people who you're interacting with. So, like you're saying before, that relationship with a guy who was nice to you, not to anybody else, he's consistently showing his true colors to other people. Yeah. And you can basically count on that's the way he's going to be. And so to choose to leave, which is what you did, sounded like a very smart move, because you were no longer believing that one part of the time when he was nice to you, because that was the aberration in a way. So, yeah, that's the thing. Consistency is part of this conversation, because respect is something not you just do once in a while, but becomes a way of life. It becomes a way of being. It becomes a way of interacting and being social and connecting with the people in the world. Because that's one, it's going to make you more consistent in your practice, gets easier and easier. But secondly, especially if you're single, you might meet somebody better that way. So to be respectful from the get-go can actually open up your eyes when you're single to something even better than that. So it's worth doing.
Yes, I think that's such a good point, because I find that respectful people are attracted to respectful people. I notice when somebody just like next to me in line says please or thank you.
Or go right ahead.
What'd you say?
Or go right ahead, for example.
Yes. Oh, yes. And it's not for any other reason in that they're being civil.
Yeah.
They're being courteous. But I go, and because people have said, gosh, people are generally nice to you. And I said, because I expect it. And I'm always surprised when they aren't, and I move on. Like, there's this weird thing that you turn on your blinker and people speed up. I said, there's this new, is this, I want to talk to DMV people, is there, or driver's ed people, is this a new rule that's happened? So I got really frustrated for a while when I noticed, I really know, and then I kept noticing, and finally I went, I let people in all the time. I bet people are going to let me in. So I turn on my blink, and I'll tell you, Barry, 90% of the time people slow down. I always make I was on a Zoom call the other day. Don't tell anybody. I wasn't watching, but the phone was on a Zoom call. And I kept putting my hand up and they go, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm waiting," because I always say thank you when they let me in. But 90% of the time they just wait. I turn on and they let me move over. And I'm like, see, I was noticing people being discourteous, and now I'm expecting them to be courteous because it's so me. I just had to switch. See, even Miss Courteous here, I had to switch my thinking because I was noticing the discourteous, and I'm like, no, we're going to notice the courteous. And every once in a while, somebody zooms by, and I go, oh, well, they're just in a bigger hurry, and I'm not going to make a fuss, and I don't care because the next person slows down. They slow down to let me in. So I think the more you concentrate on, isn't that, there's a thing of some adage about that too. The more you look for, the more it happens, right?
Yeah, the more you focus on, expands.
Yes. Well, there I am out in the freeway, and it happens to me all the time. All the time. People are amazed.
We are surprisingly skillful at telling ourselves things that will happen. Oftentimes, though, we tell ourselves negative things that will happen versus positive things that will happen. So watch what you tell yourself. You can actually say things that are actually additive to your life. And out of doing that, again, you get respect out of that because you start expecting things to be a certain way. And when you start getting used to that and it's okay with you, that you bring more respect to the conversation. It is that funny thing that way.
Isn't it amazing how we like acknowledging the power when we bring positive things? We're not always so happy to acknowledge that maybe the negative stuff that's coming, it's me.
Well, the point I'm going to line that with is that oftentimes as well, is that we will sort of be a place where we go, see that, of course it's going to happen this way because I knew it was going to happen that way. So we keep affirming the negative situation. That's not respectful for ourselves. I mean, I know we're stressing a point, but let's be respectful for ourselves by choosing positive outcomes and affirmative experiences and positive experiences that can happen because they can.
So I'm going to say out loud that thing that more women than men say, men do say it, all men are fill in the blank negative. Oh, men, oh, men, oh, men. Well, hun, maybe that's why you're seeing so many men that have this trait, which isn't necessarily that it makes them a bad person. They're just not the right person for you. But the more you say, then the universe goes, okay, well, I'll just keep sending you men like that if that's what you keep asking for. I know it's not really what you want, but you keep asking for it. So if you keep asking for it, it's going to keep showing up. So I just go, they're all nice. They're doing their thing. They're not necessarily for me, but they're generally nice, good guys doing good things, caring about the world, caring about people. And it's amazing how many men show up like that in my life. I'm really such a believer in that.
How easy that is.
It does seem so easy, and yet so many people don't do it that way.
Right. It's such an interesting paradigm. I mean, hopefully people watching this conversation will go, I can change something. I want to change something. I'd like to change something. I will change something. Fingers crossed. Because this conversation we're having is really not just to entertain people, but hopefully inspire people to choose better, but also to choose better who they want to hang out with as well. Because not only is it about changing your own behavior, it's about noticing the behavior out there with other people so that when you are meeting them, you go, this person matches my values. They give their agreements. They are nice to people. They respect the busboys. That's one of the things I see a lot. Again, dating profiles in the line of what the things they don't want is somebody disrespects the busboy. I mean, somebody's that simple a statement, but it tells so much.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, these women are dating men who don't, and so they want to find somebody who does respect them. And so it's such a important, simple thing. So men listening to this, one thing you can transform. If you can be respectful to people out in the world, practice becomes a way of life. You like to meet a nicer woman along the way.
Go back to the manners they taught you, hopefully, or if you haven't, go look up how to have good manners.
Yes.
Because just being courteous and civil in the world in general I'm here to tell you, it just brings nice things. It brings better
Absolutely.
things. And
Yeah.
that I'm really startled because it's so seldom when something happens that somebody, and I just think, oh, they must be having a bad day.
Hmm.
Okay, whatever. It's not me. It's so not me. They're not doing it to me. How sad, how much awful it must feel in their body. But I'm not going to spend much time with them. So that's a great evaluating tool to use when you're having your first coffee.
Yeah.
And just and say, gosh, and I've even said to people in general, and certainly people I was first meeting, did you have a bad day? Because everybody can have a bad day. I mean, you
Right.
really can. That's allowed. And if you
Mhm.
go, yeah, I really did, I had a flat tire, my dog pooped on the carpet or something, go, okay. Then the thing I watch for is, can they move on?
Yes.
Are
That's the
they going to
key.
wallow in it and the whole world is awful and against them? Well, that's certainly not my kind of person. But it's like, yeah, thanks for asking. And it was kind of hard. And now we're going to talk about getting to know each other. I'm going to give them, I'm going to still watch, but I'm going to give them a pass for that. I
Yeah.
mean, because that's not an automatic, no, I'm never going to see you again thing. So
Yeah.
because I respect myself,
There you
I'm going
go.
to ask them that question about, well, what's really going on for you? And they're always surprised that I ask them that.
Well, because they're probably used to people just acting towards them the way that they have been not acting towards them, that never did question the reality. They make assumptions. So yeah, that's a gift, by the way, to be able to bring that somebody's awareness to simply say to them, like, everything okay? Because oftentimes that person is not recalibrated and checked for themselves. Am I okay? Did something happen? Oh, I wasn't carrying this weight from the argument I had with my my child, or problem I had at work, and I'm bringing it here. It's like, excuse me, let me put that aside, and we can be present here.
Yeah. And I
But
just
that's a
need you to talk about it. Give me 10 minutes and
yeah,
I'm going to tell you about this crappy thing that happened. And now I can put it aside. Um, I mean, it's part of being a human being.
yeah.
I'd actually admire that if they went, yeah, boy. And I was really trying hard to be my best self and it just was still lingering. So yeah, I'd like to tell you about it and then we can move on. I'm like, I like that.
Mhm.
That shows me you're could be my kind of person, that you're open to talking about what's going on in your world.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's that's so yeah, that's key.
Yeah, it's the thing that you and I keep saying, it's a challenge to find because we do this and we want people to do it back with us.
That's the preference. That's the preference for sure.
Yeah.
So
So, how's this going on in your world? I hope this has really sparked some thoughts for you, that you've been listening to this and think, wow, how am I doing with respecting myself? And how am I doing attracting respectful people in my life? And how could I make this be different? Barry and I would be so happy to have a conversation with you about it because we've been down this journey. We've both had to do this for ourselves. Don't just come out of the room this way. Oof. We know some lots of tips and techniques to get through this and to get even stronger. And then you have even more to appreciate about yourself, right? You can
yes,
respect yourself even more if you get to the other side of this.
all right.
Yes, especially in our world right now. I think learning to be even more consciously respectful and civil is essential right now, even more than ever right now.
Definitely agreed.
Yeah. And if
So
you're
how
going
can
to
they
look
find
for a partner, pardon me?
so how can they find you?
So if you would like to talk, thank you, Barry, for asking. He's like, could you wrap up the show? So the way to get a hold of me is to go to, I'm feeling my oats today. I don't know, missing a week. I'm like, I missed you guys.
I missed you guys too.
Go to my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com, and click on What's Holding You Back from Love. And that'll give you an opportunity to have a complimentary conversation with me where we can dig in and see if there's really some things that I could help you with. You can also send me a personal email at Christine@theperfectcatch. And then you can reach me on all my social media, watch my personal podcasts and my wonderful, we've now done more than 100 podcasts,
Yeah,
Barry and I together, on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and Pinterest and YouTube and Twitter.
nicely
He
done.
hasn't lost it.
Practicing. You've been
And
practicing.
I have been. And how may they get a hold of you, Barry?
So similarly, if you want to have a conversation that takes you deep, although my work, I offer a transformational session is my initial offer. My website, which is my name, barryselby.com, easy to find. On the top of the page, there is Take a Next Step. I think it's Next Step. At the top of the page, there's a link to click on. You can sign up for a deep dive session with me from the start. At the bottom of the front page, there is a link to my email list. You can join that. Or my website's going to get revamped and redesigned soon, fingers crossed. So that will change. But in the meantime, that's the way you can get to me. Also, my website is my book, my best-selling book, my online courses, how to coach me, and other things like that too. And you can definitely find me on social media. And on my social media is basically my name, which is Barry Selby again. So if you want to find me, all the videos, like the 100+ videos we've done together, plus my 1,100 videos that are elsewhere, and many on my YouTube channel. So Barry Selby on YouTube. It's also Barry Selby on Facebook, on Pinterest, on LinkedIn, Twitter, on Instagram. It's the real Barry Selby. And on Clubhouse, it's Barry Selby. So Instagram is the one odd one out, which is the real Barry Selby. So you can definitely find me different places. Follow me. Reach out if you want support. We're both here to help you out. So you can go to our website. So find us on social media. If you're getting stuck in your relationship paradigm and you want to make some major changes, we can help you with that.
Yes.
Don't do it alone. It can be really hard. But with guidance and help and insight from another set of eyes, another set of ears, another heart, you might be amazed at the results you can get. So reach out, get support.
We will walk alongside you and help you over this.
Indeed.
So we'll be back next week again with another scintillating dating and relationship subject. We're here at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern and all the times in between. And we love when you share our videos with other people that are having challenges with their dating and relationships. And I found that there's really a lot of people who are, I don't know who sent it to me. Wow, that was so interesting. I'm like, thanks for sharing it. We just love it. And if you want to make comments or certainly ask us questions, or if you have a suggestion for another subject that we haven't covered yet, we are always open to that.
Indeed, we are.
Yeah. And so we will look forward to seeing you next week.
Indeed, we do. See you then. Take care.